Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Nicole Clavo with Voices for Victims Coalition. We are here for National Gun Violence Awareness Day. One thing about this slide is it states it is easier to raise strong children than to repair broken men, which is one of the quotes I have on my email. Frederick Douglass was an absolutionist, and here I am working with PD to stop gun violence. But I think this quote says a lot. If we begin with our children and begin raising them and helping them to understand, then we won't have to repair them when they are grown. The picture that you see on the right side is Ati. Ati was a 21-year-old young lady in the Bay Area. Two men chased her down and gunned her down in the middle of the day as she was going to work at Kaiser. She was in nursing school. It just shows that young women are a target as well. They mistaken her and her car for someone else. And as you see, CDC states in 2020, there were 45,222 firearm-related deaths in the US. How common are firearm injuries? Well, we have Nikki Whiteside and True Whiteside to our right in the picture. And that young man represents a death. He was killed at 16 years old in his mother's front yard and her front door. More than 7 out of every 10 medically treated firearm injuries are from firearm-related assaults. Nearly 2 out of every 10 are from unintentional firearm injuries. Just another sign of how our young children are being taken from us so soon. Timmy was 16 years old, out and hanging out in the front yard when 2 older gentlemen drove by and took his life. We have to talk about the root causes and what's causing our young youth and young men and young women being gunned down. Firearm injuries affect people in all stages of life. In 2020, firearm-related injuries were among the 5 leading causes of death for people ages 1 through 44. 1 through 44. Could you imagine hearing a 1-year-old that was gunned down? Ranique was gunned down by some men. She was a passenger in a car. She was 15 years old and gunned down at the ripe age of 15. And again, this just goes to show that firearm deaths are not singled out to young men of color or young men of any race, but young women as well. Men account for 86% of all victims of firearm deaths and 87% of non-fatal firearm injuries. Rates of firearm violence also vary by age and race and ethnicity. Firearm homicide rates are highest among teens and young adults, 15 to 34. No violence, how? Enhance the community's collaborative support of youth empowerment, ensuring safe neighborhoods are free from violence, and improving the quality of life in Sacramento, California, and beyond, which means we have to become involved. We have to become involved in our communities and communities that we don't live in. We have to take an interest in empowering our youth at a young age and our young adults, being that mentor, being that role model, being that voice of encouragement. Key goals to reduce violence: address critical problems that no single agency can solve alone. We have Nutter here, who was a football player, 18 years old, attended Sac High and was gunned down just right around the corner in his mom's home, actually, by a family friend. Identify areas which funds and time can be better spent. This young lady was experiencing homelessness, and she was one of the victims of the mass shooting on 12th and K. Key goals to reduce violence: build partnerships for planning and implementation. Andre McGow Jr. was killed in the north area of Sacramento and fell in the arms of his father in his front yard. These brothers were gunned down on Fruit Ridge, walking down the street, chased and gunned down. And so again, key goals to reduce violence, develop tactics to sustain reductions in gun violence over time. Improve social and economic outcomes through coordinated strategies. This young lady also is a victim of K Street mass shooting. This young lady in this film in this picture is also a victim of K Street mass shooting. If you would like to know how to become involved, how to have a voice, how to work with victims of voices, how to be a voice for victims, or to help try to stop some of the gun violence we are experiencing here in Sacramento, California, please feel free to contact me, Dr. Nicole Clavo.